we talked about in class, this is Cicero's account of Clodius's murder by Milo. He is defending Milo, so you'll see a lot of bias and whatnot. In addition, his rhetoric style is a little bit more complicated. You'll notice that this is one sentence that we're doing today, and that's it. So it's going to be important for you to be able to look at the smaller parts of the sentence and break it down. So the first thing we start off with is a cum clause. So we have this word like meanwhile, we can put that in the cum clause. And your cum clause is going to go all the way down to here. We'll take a couple other chunks out of it. So we can take this out of it right here. It's already divided into parentheses. And then we also have a date. And so we'll just take that off right there. And that date is given to you in the book. I think it was from the last chapter. It's the same date. So back to our cum clause. So in the cum clause, in the book, it says it's going to be a causal cum clause, which means you translate it as because, so or since. So because Clodius Skiret knew, and then he makes this little aside. So for it was not difficult, and then an infinitive to know. So he's kind of implying that everybody is aware of what Clodius knew here. And that is what comes next. So I'm going to make this pink. Remember that word skiret often introduces an indirect statement. So we have an accusative right here. I'm going to do some squiggly underlines to indicate that it's not my main subject, but it's the subject of my indirect statement. And then our infinitive is way down here, essay. In the book, it tells you that you can translate this as Milo had to make, or you can say there was for Milo. So I'm going to go with that one because it's a little bit more literal. So we'll say that there was for Milo a journey. So the journey for Milo was something like that. Essentially, Milo's journey was. And we have three adjectives that describe it. Solemne, there should be a little dash there, legitimum, and necessarium. So all three of those describe it. You'll notice, and if you remember from class, there are no conjunctions connecting these words. And so that's going to be called an asyndeton. So I'll write that here. These are good bonus questions for you. So an asyndeton is a fancy word. It's a rhetorical device for a lack of conjunctions. All right, so back to our indirect statement. So because Clodius knew that Milo's journey was solemne, legitimum, necessarium, on this date, and then this tells us where he's going, to Lanuvium. And then remember, when we have ad plus that gerund, like we have right here, that means to verb. And we actually saw this exact construction in chapter 58. So that means to appoint a priest. Alrighty, so next we've got another little clause, because clause. We'll just put that together. So because, this is telling us why Milo was setting out to Lanuvium, because we have our verb erat, you've got dictator, so because dictator he was a dictator. Oh, here's our subject, Milo. So Milo was the dictator of Lanuvium. So it makes sense that he would be doing this. However, we finally now get to our main clause. We'll make this orange. He himself, this is going to refer to Clodius. Because remember, we started off talking about Clodius. So Clodius knew all of that. So he himself, profectus, is half of our verb. And look there, the other half is a word away. It's a little bit unusual to have something in between our perfect tense verbs, but that's something that's totally allowed to do. So we'll say suddenly he, Clodius, set out, and this is an ablative of place, away from. So we'll say from Rome, and then predie means on the day before. All right, so that's our main clause of this sentence. Then we're going to have a purpose clause. Ooh, let's make it purple. A purple purpose clause. We go to there. So we'll translate, this is a purpose again. We'll translate our ut here as just to, so telling us why he set out. Notice that he does use this word suddenly too, to kind of imply that this maybe was not in his character just to set out like that. So he sets out to, we'll jump over here to kolokarat. This is given to you in your text. It means to arrange or set up. It looks like to collect, but that's wrong. So arrange or set up. So he set up an ambush, or to set up an ambush, and then this is what's called a dative of reference. We'll just translate it as for Milo. And then this tells us where. So before his farm. And then we've got this little clause in the book, translate this for you either as subsequent events proved, or you can make it literal and you say which intellectum est, which was learned from the thing, from the situation, the event. Alrighty, so now we have a semicolon, so it's almost like it's a new sentence. So we're going to get a new main clause. We have and he set out. Now, Ecce, remember, is one of our so words. So I would say something like he set out in such a way. Oot, result clause. All right, so let's pick a different color for a result clause. Let's do this color. So with the result that, and we're going to go down to here. Technically, you could probably take it to the end, but we'll just start with this chunk and then pick up the second half. So result clause. So with the result that, you're going to jump all the way down here to your main verb of your result clause. This can't be the subject. Then we have a relative clause. And so basically, you're just left with a relinquent. So let me put this relative clause in some parentheses here to eliminate that piece. Actually, there's two. There we go. So with the result that he left behind the turbulentem contionem. And so these words are given to you in your text as well. They should be. At least turbulentem is. All right, and then we've got a few relative clauses here that are going to take us back to this word contionem. So there's actually three relative clauses. Let me put this in green. So in which his, being Clodius's, rage was missed. So imagine this, there's like this big meeting and you're leading it and you're really raging and stuff, and then you just leave. That's what Cicero's implying is happening. So he left at a weird time, and which was held, and this is just a little ablative time within there. So on that very day, he left this behind, and then which, so again, going back to our contionem, this quae goes there as well. It's our antecedent. Which, and then he has this other little clause. Let's see, we'll do yellow. Put that together. We'll make this green here. So, which is our direct object. Let's come back to the yellow piece, which he never numquam would have left. And then nisi means unless. So, unless he had wanted, it's a pluperfect, both of these are pluperfect subjunctives, unless he had wanted, go to your infinitive obire, which is given to you in your book, to appear at the place and the time, remember that quae jumps in front of the crime. All right, so he's trying to establish that Clodius had premeditatively planned on making an attack on Milo instead of the other way around.